Imagine this. You're on Wall Street working at a top firm like JP Morgan. You've got the MBA, the six-figure salary, the life everyone tells you that you should want, but you're miserable. The bureaucracy is crushing, your fate is in the hands of others, and you realize this isn't the American dream your immigrant parents worked so hard for. So you make a terrifying choice. You quit. With no business idea and a baby on the way, you and your wife decide to live off one income and bet everything on a future you haven't figured out yet. All for one reason: time. The freedom to be the parent your own father, busy running the family restaurant, never had the chance to be. This was a pivotal moment for Giuseppe. I'm Ryan Atkinson, and this is the Upflip podcast where we uncover the secrets of building and running successful businesses. Today, Giuseppe is a highly successful entrepreneur and franchise coach who has mastered the art of building businesses that serve your life, not the other way around. He's here to share his playbook for finding the right business and the unstoppable power of having a why that is bigger than any obstacle. Giuseppe, I'm so excited for this. So excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, wow, Ryan, I'm excited. That intro gave me goosebumps. I'm like, who are we talking about there for a second? But I want a copy of that. That's probably the best intro I've ever had. And I've done over 100 shows. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you being here because you have a phenomenal story, and where your story really starts out. Obviously, we had younger Giuseppe, but let's jump to Wall Street. You're working six figures, JP Morgan. What made you take the leap? Wind us back to that and leaving such a secure job.
Yeah, so 5-hour commute daily, door to door to the office and back. We wanted to start a family, baby on the way later that year. My son, who's now going to be 18 in November. And I go, if I continue at this path, number one, I don't like the job. Number two, I'm never going to be able to see the family because I'm leaving at 5 a.m. and getting home at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So just felt like it wasn't for me, but gave it a shot. I interviewed, I looked at other firms. I knew that, from growing up in the restaurant business, I had that entrepreneurial itch. I always had a side hustle like detailing cars, delivering flyers, but I knew that I wanted something more. And I definitely didn't want a restaurant with all the moving parts and hours. So it was more of refining, what that business was. So money was great, but just felt deflated. Just felt like I didn't have a lot of upside. And finally, when I did get offered a promotion, I had to move halfway across the country. And being a family guy, having a lot of family nearby, I said there was no way. It didn't matter the amount of money. Was I going to move from the area?
Well, let's talk about taking that leap. And what are you taking the leap into? Was this just a blind idea that you had that you wanted to free up your time? Talk to us that moment. What happens after you quit your Wall Street job?
Yeah, so everyone thought I was crazy. My family, my friends, my colleagues, and said, "What are you doing? You have such a great job. You work so hard for this." So I did a lot of research, different companies, what I can do, startups. I didn't have a ton of ideas, nor did I want to go through and spend years figuring that out. I did a little research around franchising. Subway was the big franchise in 2005, so 2 decades ago. And then stumbled across a franchise coach, which interestingly enough is what I do today. And he walked me through and said, franchising isn't all about fast food. You don't have to invest millions of dollars to buy in. And was shocked to hear what was out there and that you needed zero experience. The franchise would help you, but you did need a transferable skill set like sales, like negotiation. So worked with him for about a year or so, and we were able to narrow it down to a franchise, which I had for 13 years and sold back in 2020. So it was a great experience. I loved it so much that I became a franchise coach years ago.
That's some great stuff there. And what I love about the tidbit that you said there is franchising goes just beyond, your fast food restaurants. It goes beyond the McDonald's, the Subways. Talk to us about what are some good franchises that people should consider that are listening to this show that aren't the fast food chains. Obviously, you're a franchise coach. You can see this at a very high level. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have our finger on the pulse. We get to speak with founders and CEOs, and it really comes down to what the skill set is and what are your characteristics, investment range, where you're located, what does your staff look like? Are they W-2? Are they contractors and things like that? But there's 4,000 franchises in 70 plus industries in the US alone. So that's kind of a baseline. From there, not all franchises are created equally. But as far as types of franchises, there's business coaching. One of my favorites that's a recession-resistant type of business that's very unique is reducing expenses, expense reduction, helping small businesses in your area cut back on their expense, and very interesting in how the process looks and how they go about it. One of the key things that most people don't think about because they go right to fast food is I look for things that are recession resistant personally, and that's the businesses I always got into. So things like water and smoke mitigation. There's a natural disaster, a leaky pipe, a fire. Companies that come in, they tend to have a low number of staff. They'll clean the home out, restore it, and get you back in the home as fast as possible. Those are the types of businesses I like. They're not the sexiest of businesses, but we just had a stress test during COVID. We saw what worked, what was recession resistant, what was essential. We talked about essential industries and things like that. So those are the businesses, small footprint. You don't need a physical location, up and running in, 2 or 3 months. We've seen those businesses really kind of skyrocket going into any other type of home service space.
What are some good, like low startup, low franchising fees, startup fees that you think are really good for recession resistant? Ideally, something under maybe 100K. If we can squeeze out under 50K, that'd be great. Obviously, this varies a lot, but talk to us about low startup cost ones that are good to franchise with.
Yeah, so if you get into something that doesn't require any staff models like business coaching, where you're helping businesses in all aspects, expense reduction, potentially you may be at that 100K, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. These are rough ranges, and you're always going to check in with the franchise company where you can get a loan, maybe put an SBA loan and put 20 to 30% down and fund the rest. Once you're getting into things that have some equipment, as we mentioned, water and smoke mitigation, there's going to be a truck, there's going to be a truck mount system, fans, dehumidifiers, and things like that. You can get into that 2 to 300K range where now you have a lot more on the marketing end. You have some staff, you have the truck, marketing is going to be big, payroll is going to be big. The other businesses, as I mentioned, expense reduction and coaching, you may not have any employees. You're running it essentially from home. And those coaches that are going to work with you, those expense reduction specialists, are going to be 1099. So for those listening in, this business, these types of businesses can be run full or part-time, depending on what the brand allows. But you're essentially creating a safety net in the event of the next downsizing. Take advantage, get a business up and running so that you can leave either on your terms or have that backup in the event of the next downsizing.
Most people spend months, sometimes years, just thinking about starting a business. But what if you could do it in just 10 days? That's exactly what the 10-day business launch plan is designed for. It's a step-by-step roadmap that takes you from idea to real operational business in just 10 days. Click the link in the description below and get ready with your business. What about like the HVAC companies and like the power washing companies of the world? Do you recommend someone for their first franchise to like do something like that? How would you like coach that to somebody?
Everyone's situation is different, but our process is the same, if that makes sense. So we're going to look at number one. First off, where do you want to be? So it may be I'm in New Jersey. So what counties in New Jersey? So we're going to check on availability. So that HVAC may be the perfect fit, but not available in the space, or maybe not registered in your state. So we're going to look for skill sets. What are you good at? Are you good at sales and networking? Great. This is something where, the marketing is done for you, and essentially you're going to be going on those sales appointments and eventually hiring other salespeople. So it could work for a lot of people. You don't need experience necessarily in the area, but you're going to be okay managing a small team. So leadership, management, you don't want to do sales, but you want to do networking. And that means going to the Chamber of Commerce. The best part of the example, HVAC and things like that, is that a lot of these home service types of businesses have the similar setup, 5 employees or less, 1 to 300K investment, looking for someone that can network and essentially almost become like the mayor of the town is a term I stole from another brand, but that's really what you are, mayor of the town. You're a cheerleader for the brand, letting everyone know what you do and getting some networking in. So lots of great fits, but as we get really crystal clear on staffing, investment, we start to kind of narrow down, does HVAC fall in there, or do we need to look at a smaller investment like something in business coaching? And that's part of what we do. But absolutely, it could work for a lot of people. We want to make sure it's available too in your market.
So we have a good idea, like some ideas that people can like run with, and everyone, listeners, like do your research on like what is best for you. Obviously, let's talk about like what a healthy franchise model looks like and what a bad franchise model looks like. So give me like, what are like 3 green flags that you look for in a franchise that others should also be looking for?
When speaking with the franchise company, you want to make sure that there's a clear fit. The first call is a 2-way interview. We're not looking for, I need HVAC experience. We're looking for, hey, can I follow a system? Am I the right avatar? And a good franchise company will let you know, hey, this may not be a good fit. Or if you were to move forward, if you were to decide and we approved you, you may need to hire a full-time salesperson. They'll make some proactive suggestions. But a good franchise will let you know early on that maybe this isn't the right fit. Typically, maybe a president or a founder is involved on a call or two in the very beginning, and then you're meeting them in person at the very end. You're not looking to be sold. You're looking for a conversation. You're looking for overall fit, and that comes with time. So that's initially. Then it leads to, equally as important as a green flag, is validation. Yes, the franchisor put their best foot forward. They're still making sure there's a mutual fit, right? Because you're also interviewing them. I want to be very clear there. You're also going to get to meet other franchisees, existing franchisees, to say the $1 million question, right? If you had one question to ask, is knowing what you know today, would you do it all over again? And getting to speak. They're not getting paid to speak with you. You're doing this. They're taking time out of their day to do the calls. Maybe it's one-on-one. Maybe it's a pre-recorded call or a live call that they do every week. But they're basically giving you advice and saying, yes, I would do it. Or we did have issues, but those issues have been resolved. So, these are all things that you're looking for. And then finally, third stage, green flag, meeting the franchisor in person or virtually, where you're meeting the C-suite, the founders, presidents. And I call it meeting the captain steering the ship. If they have a great system, the past does not dictate the future. So it's kind of like a stock price. Whatever it's done in the past has nothing to do with the future. So what's the future of this brand? You created all this great stuff. Are you adding national accounts? Are you adding revenue streams? What does support look like as the company goes from 50 to 100 franchisees? No clear vision, major red flag. Green flag would be, I have a vision, and saying, okay, yes, we're going to move forward. This is what to expect. This is our 5-year plan. Awesome. No future insights and kind of what that looks. That to me is a red flag.
The question I got to ask here, financials. I mean, what are like the green flags, the red flags to like look for in financials? So that all like is great. I 100% agree with like what you're saying there. People are going to be like, okay, but what metrics do I look for like financial health? What are you looking for?
Well, first off, taking a step back, why are you getting into franchise ownership? What's the why? And what you're doing is, so financials was not the first. As you mentioned in the intro, for me, it was time. So which was the brand that I can, using the first year as the builder year, and I was running it full time, which is the brand that had the strong system so that I can back away and spend time. I will say from a success standpoint, I became a soccer coach when my son turned 4, his first year. He'll be 18 in November. I've never missed a soccer game. Now, I no longer coach because that's way above my pay grade. The high school kids going into college now, but I've never missed a game, never missed my daughter's recitals and Girl Scouts and stuff like that. So time, there's different things. There are going to be some companies that will scale faster than others. In some membership models, it may take a little bit longer to gain that base, but now you're creating this annuity that that you're going to be billing every month. Some franchises, like in the water and smoke restoration space, they're going to be bigger tickets. So maybe not necessarily reoccurring, but they're going to be big ticket. The reoccurring aspect is going to be where your referrals and leads are coming from. And that's usually your plumbers, your insurance companies. So it really depends on what the match is. The franchisor will share with you an item 7, an itemized investment range, and an item 19, which is a financial representation. They have to be very careful with that because there's no guarantee. It's still a business. But you'll look for companies that have healthy margins. You're looking for franchise growth the first year. What does that look like? And were they able to take any money out? Not necessarily what the margins are. People get all caught up in the margins. Oh, this is 30%. This is 10. That's all important. That's all great. But having the experience I have and the type of businesses I've run, the follow-up would be the AUV, the average unit volume. So a cleaning business may have a lower profit margin, but you're making it up in volume given the type of work that you're in. So it's really knowing what questions to ask, but the franchisees are very open and honest. So is it important to be profitable first year? I think it's important. I think having the systems in place is definitely from a priority standpoint, and being able to back away from the business is important, but getting those numbers in order, finding what the top guys are doing, the middle tier, the bottom tier. Everyone will report a little bit differently, but you'll get a lot more insight as to what you can make per location and per territory from the franchisee, so you can figure out how many territories or locations you're looking to invest in.
A question that I want to ask here is based off of that systems there. You gave us like 2 really good metrics to like look for here, but based off the systems, like how do you know if a franchise has good systems or not? Because a lot of people, when they're hearing like you were able to coach soccer games, like go out on dates with your wife, I'm imagining, like they're like, oh, that sounds incredible. Like I want to free up my time. That was one of my biggest drivers to be an entrepreneur. How do they know like what systems to look for? Is that all detailed out? Like what do they look for there?
Part of my coaching, if you're calling the franchisor directly, you may not know what to ask, right? You don't know what you don't know. So what's in place, right? What am I getting? Someone said to me, 50,000 sounds a lot for a franchise fee. I saw another franchise in the industry for 30,000. I said, and they looked at me and I go, well, what are you getting for each one? And they said, well, I don't know. I just looked at the amount. So look for the amounts, right? Look what you're getting for the franchise fee and what you're paying for the ongoing royalty, maybe 3, 5, up to 10%, maybe even more. What are you getting? And asking them, they can't just hand you, this is our CRM, this is our marketing system for you to kind of log in and play with, but they'll log in, they'll have webinars, they'll have live trainings and say, maybe not trainings, but overviews. This is our system. So this is our CRM. This is our main system where all the contacts come in. This is the marketing tab where we're going to handle all the marketing and lead generation for you so that the call center books and then it shows up in the CRM. So they kind of open the doors to see exactly what they get. And then what I really like is the brands that really break down and say, okay, this is everything we handle for you. And this is exactly how you log in. This is what it looks like. This is the franchisee's role. They're going to be going on some sales appointments initially. They're going to go to one chamber commerce event per week, and they're going to review the key performance indicators, the KPIs taken from Gino Wickman's book Traction, the entrepreneurial operating system. Every week looking at the metrics, lots of leads, low close ratio. Is it the salesperson? Is it the lead quality, right? Maybe it's a combination, but working with your coach at the franchisor side to figure out, what the numbers are. So the average day in a life, figuring out what you're given, and then speaking with the franchisees to say, hey, we have all these systems. Are they following through? How easy is the tech stack to use in the company? Any recommendations, anything I should be aware of, and maybe some mistakes that they made. So it's really getting the answers to both sides of that coin and figuring out what you're getting and how well they're actually following through is crucial.
I imagine for a lot of people that want to do this, it's like they want to plug and play. Like obviously they're going to be hands on with it, but at the end of the day, like people want systems to have to be able to actually run with. I'm sure that was a big case for you as well when you were just getting started.
100%. And every industry is different, right? Certain industries will not have plug and play marketing because they're more relationship referral based. So yes, they'll create some marketing assets for you to deploy, but they're not doing the SEO, pay-per-click and call centers and all that kind of stuff. So, what do you want? What do you truly need? But you want those systems in place. So you pay the franchise fee. You're literally booking training, getting access to the CRM, getting trained on that virtually. It's plug and play. You just want to know, what business am I in? HVAC, great. What happens as soon as I get a lead? What's the sales process? And you want to dive in and really recoup your investment as fast as possible. And the franchisor wants you as profitable as possible. The goals are definitely aligned for your success.
Nice. Absolutely love it. Let's talk about success, because obviously one part of your success was freeing up your time. Talks about discovering like your why, and why is it important to have a why? I love like always this concept. Yeah.
Why is your why important, right?
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
whys
Why is
can we
your
add in
why
there?
important?
I didn't really get this whole why, and you hear it more and more like, what the heck? I kind of thought it was like this overused term, but your why, and it's the reason for doing what you're doing, is crucial. Why? I've been self-employed 20 years. Sometimes things don't go as planned. Sometimes you hit that fork in the road. Should I continue? Should I sell? Whatever, you're just having a bad month. And you need that reminder. Like I had left a good paying job. I left Wall Street in order to launch my business. Life is good. I just had a couple bad weeks. Maybe a deal fell through, or we had in my last business a cancellation. So it's just a reminder. It's why you got into it. Business is cyclical. The stock market, the economy, everything is cyclical. It's just a reminder. Say this is why you got into it. We have a great life. We have time freedom. We have financial freedom. And then I got that reminder of why I did this, and that was growing up in the family restaurant. We only saw dad if we were working at the restaurant because he worked so many hours. So it was basic to say we appreciate all that and we learned a ton from that, but we want to make sure that we're present for the kids. Like I'm leaving today at 3:45 to watch my son's varsity soccer game. It was put on my calendar about a month ago because that's what was important. That's the time freedom aspect. So really crucial. But the last piece on that is this time freedom, this financial freedom and all that. So the why is important, but all these freedoms that we talk about, and there's 5 freedoms I usually talk about from a book I read a while back, is that they don't all come, immediately. There's not this idea of time freedom. There was no time freedom my first year. If anything, I was working more hours, but I knew that that was a sacrifice I was willing to take in order to free up my time. Let me just get it out of the way, find the right team, had to rehire a few times, but it takes a little bit of time to see kind of what this thing could turn into. And that's, my life today, 20 years later.
What I love about that is like knowing your why is so important. Like I have my own business, this is my second, I'm coming up on 2 full years of entrepreneurship. I've learned a ton. And when I say that, I have been through like some deep, deep valleys of entrepreneurship. I have been to like some of the darkest places of my 26 years
You're
of
not
life
the only one.
because of entrepreneurship. But like truly what got me through it is like I knew my why I started a business. And it's my 3 W's: work when I want, with who I want, where I want. And like those 3 things are really like what propelled me for. Like when I'm asking this, like, how does someone like discover their why? Do they need to sit down with a journal and meditate on it? Or like, is it just understanding like your personal values? Like, what is it?
This was years in the making. I'm trying to teach it in a way. At first, my why was my passion. At the time in college, when I first started this exercise, I remember actually in grad school, I'm like, I love video games. And I worked in the video game industry for 6 months. That was the fastest path to killing my passion, was working in that industry. I don't think I've played really video games since, unless my son asked me to play FIFA. So it's like, well, that was the way I kind of got away from things. And to include that in the job, in my opinion, it kind of kills the passion. So I was like, all right, it's not passion. Well, we like soccer. We're huge soccer fans. I was looking in the soccer space, but in reality, the soccer space, in many cases on the franchise side, was retail. And that was exactly what I was doing at the restaurant. I'm going to be stocking shelves, nights, weekends, holidays. So someone, and I wish I remember who it was, broke it down and said, your why is deeper than the passion. And when they told me your why is to, like, they gave me examples of their why, and that really helped. So for them, it was family. And I'm like, well, my why is my family, time, freedom, spending time with them. And they said, great, that's your why. End of story. There's not more you have to add to it. With that time freedom, you now have more time for your passions, which is soccer. So the business is that vehicle, right? To get me the time freedom, to get me the financial freedom, the income as well, so that if I wanted to leave at 3:45 or 3:30 today to go watch the game, I can. If we go to the Red Bulls game on the weekend, I can, because I have that time freedom to be able not to work on the weekends, to afford the tickets and things like that. So when he broke it that way, I'm like, you know what? I've been stuck on the passion piece. I don't know too many people that are passionate about water and smoke mitigation. Maybe there's a few out there listening. So really figuring out, if it is a time freedom, sometimes the vehicle, especially in the franchise world, doesn't make that big of a difference, as long as there's demand and as long as it makes money, because ultimately you are not performing that work itself. Roofing, cleaning, mosquito spraying, that's the vehicle to allow you to leave at 12 o'clock every day and go fishing, go, do whatever you want with the family. So maybe that example is an explanation, but after years and years of searching, that's how it kind of clicked for me. And I've been explaining it the same way ever since.
It's so, so good. And like knowing your why and like the timepiece, I know so many people listening right now that's why they want to quit their jobs. That's why they want to go into franchising. That's why they want to start a business. Is like truly because that timepiece, it's your most valuable asset. And I know for me, like that is one of my W's of like why I put myself through HE double hockey sticks sometimes. Let's dive into our fan blitz question. This has been super, super good. We are unfortunately running out of time here. These are our last 5 questions submitted from our community. Listeners, if you want to join in on world-class entrepreneurs, go to www.youtube.com/uplift and submit your questions there. But ready for our last 5 questions?
Let's do it.
Cool. Number 1, what's your go-to book every entrepreneur should read?
Traction by Gino Wickman talks about the entrepreneurial operating system.
Really good. Great book. I will double down on that. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
You can't be the expert on all areas. Hire staff, hire employees that are better than you, so that ultimately as an entrepreneur, you're managing staff that's much more talented and finding and recruiting that staff.
If you could go back and give your younger self, the one just leaving Wall Street, one sentence of advice, what would it be?
Enjoy the ride. Destination's great. Many times I was not enjoying that ride, and you got to figure that out, because if you wait until that destination, I think that's a huge mistake, and I'm definitely trying to enjoy it much better.
2 more here. What's the most expensive mistake you've made in business, and what did you learn from it?
That's a good question. Marketing. Didn't know how to really track marketing and didn't know how to put together a budget. So Profit First, another great book, hooked up, with a coach, Rocky Lavani, was able to show me, I'm a finance major, MBA, all that. I didn't really know how to budget aside from throwing a number out there. So showed me how to break down the KPIs, basically traction, and link it to a percentage of revenue when I anticipate bringing in. Made a lot of mistakes, was kind of spending blindlessly and not tracking. And that helped with jumping over to Go high level CRM and being able to track things better. So blindly investing in marketing and not really tracking it.
Last fan blitz question. I'm actually going to create my own fan blitz question for you. If you could have dinner with one soccer player, dead or alive, who would it be? Where would you go? And what would be the first question you ask them?
Player, he passed away, I think it was last year. It's Salvatore Schillaci from Sicily, from near my parents' hometown, and was one of the biggest names in that area. So I would go right back to Palermo, to Sicily, in the hometown, and just talk to him about his experience. He put Sicily, part of Italy, obviously, on the map, but really stood out. And I get goosebumps talking about him because that's when I really got into soccer in the 80s and 90s. He was one of the few always on the Italian channel and always chanting his name. So yeah, that's a great question. Never been asked that.
Love it. Well, Giuseppe, thank you so much for being here today. If someone's like, okay, I need to learn more about him, I need to check out like what he's doing from a franchise coaching perspective, where can they do so? Where can they find you at?
Yeah, so right on the website, GG, the franchise guide, GUIDE. So GG, the franchise guide. Number one, I have a copy here. We have our book, Franchise Freedom. It's my exact blueprint to figuring out and finding your franchise, my exact blueprint. There's a podcast also called Franchise Freedom, 250 plus episodes. You can search any keyword, exit strategy planning, attorneys, and things like that. But I think the best advice is upper right-hand side of the website. You could book a call. It asks you a few questions. You put your contact info. We do a 20-minute call. Ask away questions. Am I a good fit for a franchise? If it's early on in life and it's something I want to plan on doing in the next 5 years, what do I need to do? It's a free call. We offer a free service. We get paid like a real estate agent. So take me up on that offer. Would love to help you and kind of accelerate the due diligence process. And if the franchise is the right fit, but the timing isn't right, we put together a proactive plan with follow-up. As we mentioned, KPIs, how do you track and what you need to do? And would love to help anyone listening in. More than glad to set up a call.
Listeners, that was a great episode. 3 quick takeaways for you. Number one, you got to find something that is recession resistant. He gave a lot of great examples. So I would encourage you to go back to that part and hear what are these recession resistant companies that you can franchise from or start by yourself. Number two, go back to the metrics piece as well. I really like the metrics that he gave us there. Of course, you want to look at margins, but what's the quantity? Like how many like deals are they actually closing? How many jobs are they fulfilling? I think that's a really good piece there. Number three, we talked at the end of the episode, but what's your why? You have to know your why before you start even thinking about franchising. You have to know what your why is because that'll determine a lot of your choices to move forward with. Great episode. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, please give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps us get more amazing entrepreneurs onto the show, and we'll see you next Monday. Giuseppe, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for the great episode.
Thanks, Ryan. Great meeting you.